talk is by Professor M.A. Alwar ji. His talk is on the topic treatment of Buddhist doctrines in the Sribhasyam of Ramanujacharya. He is not physically present. He has sent a video of his talk. But before we play it, a brief introduction to the speaker. Professor M.A. Alwar is a professor of Nyaya Shastra in Government Maharaja Sanskrit College, Mysuru, and an honorary director of Transdisciplinary University, Bengaluru, implementing many projects related to cataloging, editing, and publishing manuscripts and framing curriculum in Ayurveda. He has authored several monographs, articles, and presented several papers in academic congregations related to darshanas. A dynamic scholar, he is active both in spheres of academic research and in traditional Vidvat Sabhas alike, honored with many recognitions, including Shastra Ratnakara Award by Ramanujacharya Veda Pathshala. He also holds membership in several professional and academic bodies. He works for social outreach of Vedic knowledge, especially to children, to multimedia publications, web-based programs. He specializes in the field of Navya Nyaya, Prachina Nyaya, Vishishtadvaita, Vedanta, and manuscriptology, lexicography, and comparative study and application of Indian scientific concepts to modern science, especially computer science. He is a visiting faculty at Maharashtra Institute of Technology, School of Vedic Sciences, to teach Veda and Nyaya.
काषायशोभिकमनीयशिखानिवेशम् दण्डत्रयोज्ज्वलकरं विमलोपवीतम् उद्यद्दिनेशनिभमुल्लसरूर्ध्वपुण्ड्रम् रूपं तवास्तु यतिराज दृशोर्ममाग्रे. First of all, I would like to offer my salutations to all the scholars, connoisseurs, and knowledge enthusiasts who are present in this symposium on Hindu-Buddhist philosophical dialogues. In fact, I was really happy when Mr. Nitin Sridhar approached me to give a talk on the treatment of Buddhist doctrines in the Sribhasyam of Ramanujacharya as part of the Hindu-Buddhist philosophical dialogues. Personally, I feel that this sort of a dialogue has been long overdue. Today, when we say Buddhism or when we talk about Hinduism, not many people are aware of the rich philosophical traditions of these two religions, if I may put it in that way. Generally, people associate Hinduism with certain rituals, etc. Of course, it is not incorrect. Similarly, Buddhism is also associated with certain images. And more than 99% of the people today are totally unaware of the extremely rich philosophical traditions which are of the highest level of intellectual discourse. And the amount of new thoughts, new thinking processes, etc., these philosophical dialogues have brought out are of an amazing nature. Because the level of intellectualism that reached, the pinnacles of intellectualism were reached when the Hindu and Buddhist dialogues occurred during the post-Common Era as well as preceding the Common Era. And before Shankaracharya and Udayanacharya emerged on the firmament of the Indian philosophical scene, the discourses that the Buddhists put forth were considered to be invincible. Only after Shankaracharya, Kumarila Bhatta, and Udayanacharya emerged with a divine background, they could actually challenge and also refute the Buddhist philosophical theories with regard to various aspects. So that way, the Hindu-Buddhist philosophical dialogues have a history of more than 2000 years or 2 millenniums. And in the last 200 to 300 years, the philosophical aspects have almost disappeared as far as I understand it or I know it. And it is reduced to a level of street level politics, if I am not putting it in a very obscure manner. So I think it is very good that Indic Academy has organized a symposium on this subject. It is very commendable. And of course, as many people who have a background of Indian philosophy would know, the Buddhist theories have been extensively discussed and to a large extent refuted by most of the orthodox systems of philosophy, that is the Astika Darshanas, namely Sankhya, Yoga, Purvamimamsa, Uttaramimamsa, Nyaya, and Vaisheshika. So, as you all know, the Uttaramimamsa system is also known as the Vedanta system. And though there are several branches of Vedanta, predominantly we have three branches, namely Shankaracharya's Advaita branch, Ramanujacharya's Vishishtadvaita branch, and Madhvacharya's Dvaita branch. Of course, you have several other offshoots like the Nimbarka philosophy, the Vallabha philosophy, then the Chaitanya philosophy, and of late we understand that there is an interpolated version which says Swaminarayaна's philosophy also is a separate branch of Vedanta philosophy. But how much ever they may be, the greatest of scholars are of the opinion that they can be classified under one of these three. And as far as the Vishishtadvaita tradition is concerned, Ramanujacharya, who was the principal exponent of this system of philosophy, has authored a wonderful magnum opus called Sribhasyam, which is a bhashya or a specialized type of commentary on the Brahma Sutras authored by Maharshi Badarayana. This work is known as Sribhasyam, famously. And in the Sribhasyam, which is based on the Brahma Sutras, we have 4 chapters. The first 2 chapters are known as Siddhadvika, and the second 2 chapters are known as Sadhyadvika. So in the Siddhadvika, it is proven that the Supreme Brahman alone is the material cause, efficient cause of the universe. That is the Upadana Karana as well as the Nimitta Karana. And once this is proven, the Sadhyadvika, the subsequent 2 chapters come into play, which is known as, respectively known as Sadhanadhyaya and Phaladhyaya, where in the 3rd chapter, the method of worship is discussed, or the method of upasana, or engaging in the sadhana or worship of the Supreme Brahman is involved. And finally, what is the nature of the result, that is in the form of emancipation or liberation or whatever you would like to call it. So among these 4 chapters, the second chapter is known as Avirodhadhyaya. That is, it is proven here that the theory that the Supreme Brahman alone is the root cause of this universe cannot be refuted either by means of other types of verbal testimonies as well as logical reasoning. So in the second chapter, we have 4 padas, namely Smritipada, Tarkapada, Vyatpada, and Pranapada. And in the second chapter, that is the Tarkapada, which is devoted to the refutation of the theories of the Sankhyas, etc., purely on the basis of logical reasoning. Here, none of the Vedic passages is quoted by Ramanujacharya because the entire pada is based on tarka or logical reason. So, purely on the basis of logical reason, the causality of the Supreme Brahman, that is the Supreme Brahman alone being the root cause of the universe, is proven. And in this context, 3 adhikaranas, that is the third adhikarana, namely Samudaya adhikarana, the 4th adhikarana, namely the Upalabdhi adhikarana, and the 5th adhikarana, namely the Sarvatha Rupapatti adhikarana. These 3 adhikaranas are devoted to the treatment of Buddhism. Among these 3 adhikaranas, the first adhikarana, namely the Samudaya adhikarana, is devoted to the refutation of the theories of the Vaibhashikas and Sautrantikas. As you all know, the Buddhists are divided into 2 principal categories, namely Hinayana and Mahayana. Hinayana again is divided into 2 categories, namely Yoga, Vaibhashika and Sautrantika, while Mahayana is divided into 2 categories, namely Vijnana Vadis, that is Yogacharas, and Madhyamikas, who are Sarvashunyavadis. So in the third adhikarana, namely the Samudaya adhikarana, the theories of the Sautrantikas and Vaibhashikas is refuted in detail. So all of the 4 Buddhas or all of the 4 schools of Buddhism accept that the entire world is momentary in nature. That means it is called as Kshanika, which essentially means any entity in this universe is born and immediately destroyed in the subsequent moment only. It will be in existence only for one moment. So this aspect is specifically refuted in the Samudaya Adhikarana, where it says, how can you have causality if an entity exists even only for one moment? So if it has to create something else, if one effect has to come into being from a cause, the cause has to be in existence at least for 2 moments, not less than that. So this aspect is discussed in detail. Of course, the Buddhists are not propounders of theories that are very easily refutable. They have their own peculiar type of logic which is very, very difficult to refute. But on the other hand, the orthodox systems of philosophy, of which Shankaracharya and others were the propounders, they also upgraded their logic to the extent that they could refute the theories of the Buddhists. So ultimately in the Samudaya Adhikarana, Acharya Ramanuja refutes these 2 schools of thought, namely the Sautrantika and Vaibhashika. Then comes the next adhikarana, which is Upalabdhyadhikarana. In the Upalabdhyadhikarana, he refutes the school of the Yogacharas, who propound the theory that there is only one tattva, one reality in this world, that is known as Vijnana. And that entity also is internal and it is not external. So when I say I know a pot or I see a pot, there is only one tattva, one entity, namely Vijnana, which depicts itself as if it is the knower, known, and the means of knowledge. Pramana, Prameya, Pramata. So their shloka is as follows. Avibhagopi buddhyatma viparyasita darshanaihi grahya grahaka samvitti bhedavaniva lakshyate. Even though there is only one tattva, namely Vijnana, which is known as buddhyatma in the shloka, due to illusion, it is seen as if it is the knower, it is the known, and also it is the means of knowledge, that is known as pramata, pramana, and prameya in the philosophical parlance. And they also are of the opinion that everything external in this world or internal except for Buddhyatma or Vijnana is an illusion only. So when I say this is a pot, it is an illusory type of knowledge because there is no pot in reality. Why do they say that? They give a very, very beautiful example. Indriyai upalabdham yat tattvena tu grihyate jatas tattvavido balaha tattvajnanena kim phalam. If you say that an entity that is cognized by means of our sense organs is the real entity. So reality or real entity is known as tattva in the Shastric parlance. If you say that this is the reality, and the reality is being cognized by a person when he sees something and understands it to be that object, even children are able to do it. Then you have to accept that even children are the knowers of reality. And tattvajnanena kim phalam. So we all know that if a person is called a tattvajnani, that means he is the knower of the most subtlest of subtle objects, that is the Supreme Brahman in our parlance. They call it as shunya, some such thing. So such a person will be most venerable, etc. But if you say that anything that is cognized by the object, by the indriyas or the sense organs is true in its real sense, then it means that that person has had the vision of the reality. But if you say so, if you say yes, then what is the phala or what is the result of that tattva? Therefore, they say all this is illusion. Just like they say pratyaya sarvopi mithya pratyayatvat swapna pratyayavati. That means everything, every knowledge is in this world is illusory, because you have an example, you have an analogy where you undergo a dream. You see, you are the person who sees the dream, and there is nothing in this world. Actually, then there is nothing in reality. So they use several logical reasons to prove that everything in this world is illusory. Therefore, they say that only Vijnana is true and everything else is false. So Ramanujacharya refutes this theory also. He says, no, it's not possible. Because you cannot say everything is illusory. For that matter, if you say so, then he raises a question that when you say everything is illusory, is this statement an illusory statement or is it a factual statement? If you say it is a factual statement, then you have accepted that there is something factual in this world. If you say that the statement that everything is illusory is also illusory, then the contrary is proven. Then also you have to say that you have to accept that there is something, some reality in this world. And there is a beautiful statement by one of the greatest philosophers of the Indian tradition, Vachaspati Mishra. He says, Parashyata parikshodatu parastadapi vadibhihi upalambhabale stheyam tadadau kim nagrihyate. So if you say everything is illusory, then how can you have any sort of vyavahara or transaction in this world? On what basis will you conduct your transactions? So if you say, I am seeing, I am also false, everything is false, everything is false, everything is false, then how do you even, that's why the statement, that is why they question, is the statement everything is false, is it false or not? So if you go on refuting everything, then where do you stand? So Ramanujacharya very beautifully puts this when he comments on the sutra, na abhavaha upalabdhi. So you cannot say that everything is mithya because you actually see it, you touch it, you enjoy it, etc. And a very beautiful analogy is given in the Nyaya Manjari when he says, suppose a person is going in a desert, he will see what is known as Marichika, where he feels that there is water, but when he goes near the place, there is no water, then he sees water at a distance. So it's called a mirage in English. But suppose a person who is traveling in the desert sees a water body. He then bathes in it and he drinks the water and enjoys the water and his thirst is quenched. Then will he have any doubt about the water existing there? So he will never have such a doubt. Therefore, you cannot refute everything except Vijnana because you have to give value to your own cognition. And further in the fifth Adhikarana, which is known as Sarvathanupapadya Adhikarana, he also refutes the Shunyavada of the Madhyamikas who say that even Vijnana is Shunya, even Vijnana is a falsified entity, and there is nothing in this world that is real. Even Vijnana is unreal. So they put it very beautifully. Nasannasanna sadasanna chapyanubhayatmakam chatushkoti vinirmuktam tattvam madhyamika viduhu. For example, when we say Sat, we say Ghataha San, Pataha San, etc. That means a pot exists, a phone exists, a book exists, a pencil exists. This is known as Sadvastu in general parlance. Then you have Asadvastu, which is like Shashashringa, the horn of a rabbit, which doesn't exist, or the trunk of a lion. The lion cannot have a trunk. So these are Asadvastus. Certain things are Sat and Asat. So we say Ghataha Ghatarupena Sat, Patarupena Asat. Swaswarupena Sat, Paraswarupena Asat. So it becomes Sadasat. Then you have certain entities that are neither Sat nor Asat. So you have only four possibilities. Sat, Asat, Sadasat, Sadasat Vilakshan. There is nothing beyond these four, but Madhyamikas say there is a thing called Shunya, which is Nasannasan, Nasadasan, Nachapyanubhayatmakam. It is neither Sat Nar asat, nar sadasat, nar sadasat vilakshana. So Chatushkoti Vinirmuktam Tattvam Madhyamika. There is a tattva called Shunya, which is once again a negative entity, not a positive entity, which is beyond these four possibilities. So Ramanujacharya, on the basis of our own knowledge, our own cognition, etc., mentions this cannot be the tattva. This cannot be there. Because sarvatha anupapatte, it is against all the pramanas. You cannot prove it by means of pratyaksha or anumana or shabda. Any pramana you cannot prove, because unless you accept one thing as a reality, there cannot be any proof. So even your Shunyavada cannot be proven by means of Shunya, etc., etc., and the debate goes on. But ultimately, one can say that the Buddhist theory is not valid when we accept these sets of axioms. So this is how Ramanujacharya has treated Buddhism in these three adhikaranas of the Tarkapada, that is the second pada of the second adhyaya of the Brahma Sutras. Of course, in other contexts also there are some topics which are brought up for discussion and reputation, but I will not go into those aspects. So finally, I would like to end by commending the Indic Academy for restarting and rekindling the Hindu-Buddhist dialogues. And also, one more important aspect I would like to mention before concluding. One has to go deep into thought with regard to one very important aspect. Among the Dashavataras, Buddha Avatara was considered as the ninth avatar. Later, the Buddha Avatara was removed from the Dashavataras and the Balarama Avatara was introduced, which is not there in the original list of Dashavataras. By that logic, if you say Balarama was also an independent avatara, then my guru, who did a huge amount of research into the Buddhist Hindu dialogues, he used to mention that then for Rama also, in Ramayana also, you have to say 4 avatars per day, which will actually make the Dashavataras, actually it will become much more than 10. It will become 13. So why did the seers of those days remove Buddha Avatara from the list of Dashavataras? In fact, it's a very, very important topic. I would like to give a talk on this if there is an opportunity and if people are interested. So it is until the time of Dingnaga, my guru has proven, based on the textual evidences, Buddhism and the Vedic philosophy were traveling hand in hand together. Just as we have Shaivism and Vedic thought, which are hand in hand together. Vaishnavism and Vedic philosophy hand in hand together, we are following nowadays. Until now, almost in a very, let it be though it's in a very diluted manner. So, after the period of Dingnaga, there started a trend when they said we are going against the Vedas. We are not only not following the Vedic principles, are not subscribing to the views of the Vedas, we are going against it. This trend started and it became a huge, a huge ocean of thoughts which actually set the Buddhist religion against, or the Buddhist philosophy against the Vedic philosophy. And therefore, Kumarila Bhatta, Shankaracharya and Udayanacharya, etc., had to put in great efforts to refute the Buddhist philosophy. In fact, Swami Vivekananda says, a philosophy that is against the Vedic principles cannot sustain in India, because India is the land of the Vedas. This aspect has to be borne in mind. And I think now it is high time once again that the Buddhists come back to the Vedic fold. Of course, it may be possible or not possible, because we have so many other considerations except for philosophical considerations today, due to various factors, political factors, social factors, etc. But at least it's a good augury that once again the Hindu philosophical dialogue has been, Hindu-Buddhist philosophical dialogue has been initiated and ignited. And I hope a time will come when we both will unite as it existed during the pre-Dingnaga era. With these words, I conclude my presentation. I thank the authorities of the Indic Academy, especially the Moksha wing, and also Sri Nitin Sridhar, my dear friend and a very versatile scholar, who invited me to give this talk, and I hope it has been of some use to you. And since I have pre-recorded this talk, I would be very happy to have your feedback, and questions are also welcome. Thank you very much. Srimate Ramanujaya Namaha. Namah Paramarishibhyo Namah Paramarishibhyah.
Thank you, Professor Alwarji, for sending us a wonderful talk on the Buddhist doctrines and its reputation in the Ramanujacharya Sampradaya, in the Vishishtadvaita, especially your final message that it is high time that there is a philosophical homecoming or Ghar Vapsi, as we can say, of the Buddha into the Hindu fold. I think that will also be a good response to many many contemporary trends, which is which is using Buddha as an icon to create fault lines. So, Dr. Nagarajji, please share your final comments, any reflections on the and closing remarks on the symposium.
Yeah, it has been a long day, and there are a few audience left. So that shows that we have to very quickly close the symposium. I'm glad that we were able to successfully gather these august scholars, stellar scholars, galaxy of scholars. And each one of the presentations was highly enlightening. We were able to learn a lot from each one of them. And a very interesting thing that has emerged out of this is that there is a lot of documentation and reflection of Buddhist doctrines on the Vedic side of the literature also. And apart from the research on the Buddhist texts themselves, a research on how from time to time there was a reflection of the Buddhist views on the Vedic side. If such a research is taken up, there will be a very interesting amount of new understanding of how this dialogue between the two Indic traditions, which culturally lived together, culturally were exchanging together, was happening. As towards the end, rightly from the words of Professor Alwar, Nitinji was also bringing up, fault lines are being wedged into this relationship by creating an anti-Vedic or anti-Hindu, to use a contemporary word, image of Buddhism. And I've seen on social media that this kind of anti-Hindu image that is being created by some of the contemporary Buddhists in India is being refuted by, is not getting accepted by the traditional Buddhists all over the world, They have been responding saying that this is only a political movement, this is not a doctrinal, philosophical movement that is happening in the name of Buddhism. And the kind of picture that is emerging from certain shenanigan sections of Western Buddhism, Western Buddhist studies, also is not getting accepted by traditional Buddhists all over the world who are not as anti-Hindu as they would want them to. With these words, I conclude. The meeting G will take it forward and conclude the symposium.
Telling that the great take home from the symposium has been the fact that the Vada is a very unique contribution of Indian civilization, and it is about ultimately about speaking truth through engagement, through dialogue and debate as well as critique. And this philosophical dialogue, debate, critique did not mean that there was no shared history on the ground. And so this is the greatest takeaway, and this is the unique aspect of Indian civilization. And this is a tradition that we need to revive today more and more, so that it will be able to revive the Jnana Parampara as a whole. So, and as we conclude, I want to thank everyone, all the acharyas, all the scholars who took time to participate, all the students and seekers and everybody else who participated as the audience and who will be watching these talks when we upload on YouTube. I want to thank all my team, to Nagaraj Paturi ji, to Koti Garu, Srinivas Garu, who handled the back end. Nagaraj Paturi ji has been a great support. He delivered the inaugural talk. He co-curated the festival. So I thank all of them. And of course, most importantly, I thank our founder, Shri Harikaran Garu, for always coming up with very unique topics, very relevant topics, and making us think about how to present this to the audience. So with this, we conclude today's symposium, and we will be bringing to you more and more such symposiums, conferences, and talks on very interesting topics from Indian civilization and Bharatiya Jnana Parampara. Thank you very much. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.